Just a quick summary of what Marguerite does and has done. She's the Assistant Director and Head of Library Technical Services in the library at University of Pretoria. She's got a degree in Consumer Science and Information Science. She started at UP in 1997 at the Veterinary Science Library, and she worked closely with researchers there. She got her master's degree in 2015, and she focused on the information behavior of veterinary researchers and how library services can be aligned accordingly. And then in 2017, she moved into her current position. And Marguerite's also getting ready to do her PhD, poor thing, in the Department of Information Science at UP. She's written several journal articles, so you can go away and look up what she's written, and a book chapter. And she's also presented at various national and international conferences. So over to you, Marguerite. Take my stuff. You're going to be okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon again, and I'm afraid my content is not so exciting as the previous speaker's content, but I hope I can give you a few tips on, is it up there? Okay, there you are. So I hope I will be able to give you some tips or something that tell you something that you might not know. Okay, so a lot has happened since the first journal, scientific journal, made its appearance in 1665, and the latest development is transformational agreements, and we all have first-hand experience with that. But when we got it in, basically, totally, it landed on the library's responsibility list last year. Is it? Sorry. Okay. When we landed on our desk last year, we had to jump in and make sure that our university community is aware of that and utilize it to its fullest. As you know, the more it's used, the more cost effective it is. So I'm going to tell you what we did to make our community aware of this. So my story will be based on what's happening at the University of Pretoria. Now, as most of your universities, research is the major thing, and there's also this drive to make our research visible and impactful overseas and also locally. So we have several initiatives in place to drive open access at our institution. And most of our services are based to support researchers to increase their research visibility. We also have other open access tools like our repositories and also the research data repository. But we also, similar to some of you, we also have an open access fund where researchers can claim their research, the cost of APCs from the library. Now, we were then very excited about transformational agreements, and in 2022, our first ones were the ICM1, the Emerald, and Wiley. Currently, we have more, all the newest ones, Science Direct, Springer Nature, and all those are now included. But when we started, we only had these three, and that gave us basically opportunities for our researchers to publish in 1,500 and something journals. So when we had to communicate it, we had to get together a team in the first place. So we worked out a few strategies to make sure that the community get the message well. And I'm going to discuss each of these strategies now. So the first one was to compile our team. Now, some of, I think, a previous speaker from the Netherlands also mentioned about collaboration, and that this is really our secret to success is that you cannot work in silos if you work with transformational agreements. So on our team, I was representing library technical services. We also had representatives from open scholarship, the faculty libraries, and we created a focus area, open science. So transformational agreements was one leg of the open science focus area. There's also the people who focused more on the data management, as also other tools to make research more visible. And then obviously the marketing unit was also part of this, and we also involved more on a consultation basis our UX team, which is also a very new team in our library. So then the next one was at that sessions, we decide we must make it as easy as possible for the researchers. Now they have their sort of ways to decide which journal to publish in, and we decided then we will incorporate our transformational agreement information in those workflows that they have. So we decided we want to create like a one-stop shop for them, and also add some information. Now, our first, they often go to our library's homepage and search under accredited journals because they need to publish in a DHET accredited journal. So we then on this workflow we added a resource where we also try to make use the language that is as easy possible for them to understand. So we have the list of journals where UP authors can publish open access for free. I know the free sounds not maybe there, but we know that they will love that word. So we added it there, and then we have a list. Now, when the previous one of the previous speakers mentioned that journal browser list of them, I wish we had such a nice tool, but ours is basically a PDF list. But we also added the impact factor, other where it is accredited, all additional information. So, and we also color coded it. According to the publisher and the collection to which it exists. So this then is an alphabetic list where researchers can look up which journal or if their specific journal is part of their transformational agreements. And then we also incorporated in our subject guides. So we had a meeting with our information specialists. Now, the information specialists are like subject librarians, so all of them are responsible for certain departments in the faculty. So they create subject guides, and we ask them to go now into this list and decide or select the journals which are on the transformational agreement list, which are specific to a specific faculty or department, so that it even makes it even more easy for a researcher to find the journal. And we also have a more general subject guide also, this one, where our basic information is listed. And then this is an example of a subject guide for chemistry, which lists chemistry-specific journals which can be used by researchers from chemistry. So there's others also for mathematics and social sciences, everything on those. Okay, then our another strategy was to make sure that the message is clear. We have our library language and acronyms that we often use, but the researchers are not aware of that. So it was really important to use a language that will be easy for them to understand. So This is now an example of the first communication then that went out, where we basically informed them that there are transformational agreements, where they can find it and what the benefits are for them and where they can find it, and also then how does it work, and also provide some information where they can contact us if they have questions. And believe me, there were a lot of questions after this message went through. And then also, this is also, I picked up from earlier discussions that there are some things that are, and most of the problems that we have is similar. So we also took all those challenges together and tried to create an easy three-step, easy step-by-step guide for them, where we explain to them, when you want to publish your manuscript, first you need to decide the journal, then how do you submit it, and how does the rest of the process work. And this, I will refer to this again, but this was communicated in all our road shows to the faculties and the other departments and webinars and so on to the researchers. Okay, and then there was also the self-help guides, which are listed on our webpage. So it's really, we really try to make it the information available everywhere. And if they cannot help themselves, the contact details has to be close by. So then the communication channels we used first direct communication, where we sent messages, on campus-wide messages. We also used our information specialists intensively to communicate with their departments. Then we had roadshows, similar to what our colleagues from UNISA also mentioned earlier. We went to HOD meetings, to the research committee meetings, all webinars that were presented for academics, postgrad students. We were there, or we asked for only 10 minutes, but we tried to get the message through. And I must say, there was no meeting where they didn't welcome us. They were actually so excited. They wanted to keep us longer. And then obviously there's also other channels where we posted in our local library newsletter, but also other newsletters and communication on campus. So, and this lines also with our timeline. We started with the campus-wide messages, and then it developed into roadshows, and it's now on a stage where it's pretty much integrated, but we keep the momentum with additional messages. Okay, and then the most important thing is engage all stakeholders all the way, and that is we started with the library. Remember, maybe we sit and work with this every day, but when the people come in with their problems, they ask maybe a person at the circulation desk, those things. So you must make sure that at least they know what it is and who to contact. So that it's really, you start at home and then you go out. And also make sure that the communication also from both sides. We collected the communication that constantly came to us through Sunleak and the publishers and so on, but then we spread it out, and we were also then receiving back communication from the faculties, which often, most of the time, came in from the information specialist, which are much more embedded. So stakeholder engagement is very important. And then, as I mentioned, we trained the trainers, and that was the information specialist, because when we got these transformational agreements, it was a total new concept for them. And at UP, we have a lot of new, very young information specialists. So we really had to train them and told them what it is. And the road shows, when we started, it was basically the Open Scholarship, one of the officers there. She deals a lot with IPCs and so on. So she and me did most of the roadshows when we started. But now it took us basically a year to sort of develop all the information specialists. So now with the additional transformational agreements we got, it's now the ball is now in their hands to now do the roadshows to their faculties. So I think we did well with them also. They are now much more comfortable with these things. And yeah, and so training is very important. Monitor and evaluate, it's obviously so important to make sure that you sort of measure, is this now worthwhile? And I know at the end of last year, I had to write a whole report on what we saved and so on. So, and if you look at the cost of the APCs, what you would have paid, it makes them excited to see, well, okay, we did save, although we still paid, but there is really it shows that there are savings. So and it's also important to report to give reports to the community also, and these kind of to yeah, so that they know where they are. We also break it down according to the faculties to say, okay, NAS and EBIT is doing much better than social science and so on. But it also has something to do with the kind of journals. And I must say, I'm quite excited about the new ones that were added in 2023. And I think we might have even much more to be excited and happy on than this year, at the end of this year. Okay, so what we've learned is that teamwork is everything. You cannot work alone. And I always think of, at every strategic session of our library, the first thing that come out is we work in silos. Nobody knows what the others did. And I am excited because transformational agreements is one of the things that now force us to work together. So it's for me an excellent way to work together on projects and work with a plan your timelines, make sure that all the content is in place before you communicate, but it's also important that you cannot wait too long, because then you keep the benefits close and you don't open it. So you must really work very carefully, but also with speed, and stay updated the whole time, and make sure that the communication goes to the community. And the messaging is so powerful. You must make sure that they understand it, and then keep on the engagement. So after the few that we started with last year, before they forget, or some people maybe not publishing in the second year of the second part of the year, make sure that they still remember now that we have more. Okay, there is this opportunity. So you must make sure that you constantly remind them. And the way forward, we updated our lists now. And now we have almost 7,000 titles. We are actually very excited about the new editions, and especially where our researchers that publish most are in natural sciences and engineering and so on. I think with the Elsevier and the Springer editions, we will really benefit a lot of those. And then, as I said earlier, the roadshows are now in the hands of our information specialist. And we also started reviewing our IPC fund. I know my colleague from WITS here had we discussed the IPCs. I was thinking, I hope we can say now the library assists a lot now with transformational agreements. If people want to publish in other journals than which are included in transformational agreements, they should fund it themselves or so. So hopefully that will happen within the next 2 years, but let's see. So yeah, And that's, I must say, our researchers and the UP community really welcomed this, and they are excited. And I think it's going well there. Thank you. Any questions? Nothing.
Any questions from the online people? Yes, there is one. It's Bongi. Sorry, the lights are right in my eyes.
Thank you. Such an informative presentation. I just want to know, when you were comparing the list of the accredited journal to against those from the publishers list. When you looked at it, did you come up with a longer list, or it was just a few? How much was it?
Yes. When we started, it's a little bit less than it was the full list, because we checked every journal to make sure it is on the accredited list. Now that the list is growing with the additional, we really it's a lot of work. I also use the students working in our research commons. They are M&D students, so they know what accredited journals are and so on. So we also use them to do the double checking for us and the checking. But it is getting now hard, because the list is so long. So I think we will stop with this and rather refer them to the accredited list and inform them that they must make sure that the list, the journal is on both lists.
Thank you. I'm just asking this because from my institution, when they were looking at the list from publishers, they also picked up that the list from the accredited is not, when you compare it to those from the publishers, it's very low. And then we also got this question that now that we've got that list from the accredited journals, and when you look at it, it's not as compared to the publishers one. What do we do as the researchers? Do we go with the ones from the publishers, or we just stick to the one from the accredited list? And we were also sort of confused as to how we can deal with this problem.
I maybe what I would suggest is that you give them the list, the full list of transformational agreements, journals, but then you make it clear they must confirm that the journal that they want to publish in is also on the accredited list, so that you also cover yourself. If you missed something, that it's not, okay, the library said this one is accredited and now you missed it and now it's your fault. So make sure that it's their responsibility to check on the accredited list too.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Katlawo. Thank you for a very great presentation. I think my colleague and I, we have learned a lot from it. My question is, because I see you had a very well put plan. So I just want to know, do you perhaps evaluate the success of what you have done, and maybe in terms of the number of authors that publish, do you make a review yearly, or what kind of criteria do you use to check that? Thanks.
Thank you. I think the best way to review the success is to look at if there's a good uptake in the open access publishing in these journals. And we did a review. I had to write a review for our executive on the uptake, and it was good. I think we could go maybe deeper to look at still why people publish not in these and all those. So that will also guide us. But as I also said, with our researchers, the researchers that publish most are in our natural sciences and engineering and health sciences and so on. And I think a lot of their journals are in the new editions, like the Science Direct and so on. So it would be for me good at the end of the year if I look at what the uptake now was with the new transformational agreement and compare that with what we've seen last year. It will also be a good indication. I think they are now enough, and the variety is so to cover most researchers and faculties. But yeah, I think it will be good to see why they're still not publishing these.
There's a question online. Do you have a formula for working out the savings in APCs as a result of the transformative agreements? And that's from Shanaz Fryer.
Okay, basically what I did was I looked at what we paid for the subscriptions over the last few years. Fortunately, I had all those data available from 2012, I think, but I only worked from around 2017 to look at what we paid for the subscriptions, what the cost now was with the subscription to the transformational agreement. And then I also worked out the average cost of the APCs. I worked that out with previous reports I had to write. So I had, for example, the average cost of Wiley was, I think, 36,000. I'm not quite sure now. I don't have it in my head, but I had that average cost. So then I looked at how many articles were published, and I multiplied it with the average cost. And then I looked at more or less compared what we then paid, what was included in the subscription, and compared it with what we would have paid. I have all the maths I made on the paper. I will give it to you, but it more or less gave us an indication if we didn't have the transformational agreement, what we would have paid for APCs. Does it make sense? I will show you on paper.
We also give you that information now from Sanlick, where I can get it. Sometimes I can't. But we also send those lists to you as well.